Welcome to the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
Hello and welcome to Bold Book of the Day. My name is Dr. Denise Nicholson, and this podcast is for anyone looking for inspiration. Today, I'm so excited to share that I have an award-winning author in the house, and she is Janna Brooke Wallack, joining me to discuss her book, Naked Girl. It's a novel, and we're going to talk all about it, all of the interesting stuff about her life, and all of the interesting things about Naked Girl. So, welcome, Janna.
Hi, how are you? It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, it's a pleasure. And knowing that you are just right here, it just brings me so much more joy. Right here in New York, right here in New
Yes,
York.
we're so close, and it's great to see your face.
Beautiful. So, this is so important that we have a platform to share our message and to just share all the important things that we're doing with our book and with our book business. But first, I want to know, what was the inspiration for you for writing Naked Girl?
It's a good question. I had little children, and I had a lot of them, and I was really having kind of a stay-at-home mom existential dilemma because I had stopped working to raise them when they were really little.
Uh-huh.
And if I watched one more episode of The Backyardigans and Blue's Clues and Dora the Explorer, I was going to go crazy. I needed something like to stimulate my brain in an adult way. And so I started writing memoirs and short stories. And I just
Mm.
started writing them with no goal in mind. And after I started writing my memoirs, because I did have kind of an interesting and unconventional childhood, I realized, but I love my parents, and I love them. I don't want to, make people think that I have complaints about my parents. So I don't want to publish memoirs, because what people want in memoirs is for you to remember trauma and rough things and reveal them. And I
Mhm.
read memoirs, and it's amazing, but I didn't really want to reveal myself in that way. So I started fictionalizing. And then once I started
Yeah.
fictionalizing, I got a lot of freedom, and I got the freedom to make things up. And fiction makes you into sort of, don't take this the wrong way, but kind of the god of your book. And you can make anything happen. And that kind of power and freedom really was very enjoyable to me. And so I started writing the novel Naked Girl.
Ooh, I love that you found a respite
Yeah.
for yourself. You were like, you know what, I'm going to create this respite because you're feeling overwhelmed, and that's the way to channel your energy,
Yeah.
to give you, like you said, the freedom, the authority, and the power over that world.
Right.
So
It was a
tell me
great thing
about,
for me.
yeah, you said something about your childhood. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. How did you grow up?
I grew up in the 1980s in Miami Beach, Florida, and Miami Beach now is this, you think of it like you think of Manhattan, like there's something happening day and night round the clock, and it's a huge nightlife city, and it's very vibrant and filled with tourism, and the real estate prices are insane, and it's a vacation spot. But when I was growing up, it was felt much more small town. There were lots of beach hotels, and there were things going on, but almost all of South Beach was um, immigrants and retirees, but like low price retirees in little efficiency hotels on the beach. A lot of elderly people, a lot of Holocaust survivors. There was a big Jewish presence. There would be outdoor services in the park. There was no nightclubs there. That wasn't, they may have been in the past, but the heyday had been over, and there was just sort of this leaving of this Art Deco district that was filled with old people sitting in chairs and enjoying their retirement. And then uptown a little bit, where I lived in Central Beach, was like a little village. If I did a cartwheel in the middle of the street, someone, I'd get home and my mother would say, please refrain from doing gymnastics in the crosswalk, because someone called her and told on me. Um, but so I grew up in my mother and stepfather's house on Miami Beach during the weekdays. My parents divorced when I was very young. And I got two step siblings and a half brother, plus my little brother from my parents' first marriage. Don't even try to follow that. And we all lived together in a house, and we all had little pets, little rodents in cages, and a dog and whatever. And we rode our bikes and we did all these things. And I had this kind of conventional childhood with Aquanet hairspray in my bangs and slouchy socks and very 80s and latchkey kids running through the neighborhood. And then on the weekends, my dad, who had gotten married at 21 and probably shouldn't have, was trying to find himself, and he was a spiritual seeker. And I think there was a bit of pot involved in that. And he was following gurus and meditating and trying to find himself. And so on the weekends or on all of our vacations, my brother and I were sort of there for that. And it wasn't, in a lot of ways, it was a wonderful environment. It was exciting. We could just spend all day building a tree house out of a pile of garbage. Or we would go swimming and no one really watched us. Sorry, Dad, but it's true. No one really watched us. And we just like any idea we had, we could run with it. But also like my dad didn't really have a toddler schedule down. So, when it was time to eat, if he was hungry, then we ate. And if not, we were like, what's in the fridge? Oh, there's unripe bananas and baker's chocolate. So it was, we were really left to ourselves, and it was wonderful and creative, and also like a little bit overexposed and dangerous, because there was all of these people, other friends of his and seekers that were just kind of around and hanging out and talking about really heavy spiritual stuff while we were like, can we have a snack? So, and we traveled with him that way. It was always that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So is that where you got the 1980s Miami Beach setting for the book?
Yeah. Yes. It was
okay.
The book is kind of a love letter to Miami Beach. There's Miami Beach has gone through so many iterations since the land booms in like the late 1800s and then moving up through today. And it's a really interesting, colorful melting pot of a place. Like, I understand why it's such a hot ticket right now. It has so much beauty and just sort of natural magic to it. And Miami's called Magic City. And and there's so much history. And I was there for my whole life watching all of that evolve. So,
and it was helping to shape who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really is a character in the novel. Miami Beach is a character in the novel because those big old Mediterranean mansions are there, and it's kind of an amazing place.
How did you come up with the name Naked Girl?
So the name is literal and figurative, because in the novel, Sienna and Siddhartha are growing up on the fringe of their father's utopian cult. And there's a lot of nudism. Clothing is very optional in this cult that they live in. And that is not really the reason for the name of the book. The reason for the name of the book is that the book is essentially Sienna's story, her coming of age story during a sort of rough emotional time for all kids, but then being put up against this sort of fend for yourself, live off the land, everything spiritual, nothing practical, nothing to really rely on childhood. She was sort of laid bare emotionally as well as physically by this scenario. And so we get the title Naked Girl.
I love that you have the very first introduction of the book, the symbolism of nakedness, which the reader can approach it as, something to come to and bare yourself, or see the bareness of this girl or this community or whatever, just to give the reader that option to just come with your emptiness, with your soul empty and with a blank canvas, so that you can take it all in and see have a different perspective based on all of the different family dynamics and whatever self-discovery that is in there for you. So I love that you started off with that strong symbolism. Now, how did you develop the characters, and did that take a lot of time and framing and segmenting so that you can distinctly share someone's character so that the reader can pick up who's who when they're reading.
Yeah. So for me, character is everything. Writing literary fiction, going deeply, deeply into making characters feel very, very real. I've been told that my book reads like a memoir, and
Mm,
it was intentional. How did I do it? Well, it took 12 years to write it. I was
okay.
raising kids, I was working, I was running my house, I was participating in my community, and I wrote when I could. And I wrote most of it from 5 to 7 a.m. every morning, only on the weekdays. And it was really an arduous, long, beautiful process. And at the end of it, what I had was these characters who are so real. Sienna is her emotional world is very reminiscent of mine growing up, which was
Mhm.
easy. Yeah, it was easy to do, writing it and putting her in the time and place where I grew up. Siddhartha was harder for me because I was kind of getting into the mind of a little boy who was a
Mhm.
shy, an introverted little boy, but who was very open and really needed love and really needed a mother that he didn't have. And um, and then he grows into a teenager and he gets so angry, and his trauma, causes behaviors and a different voice in himself and a different goal in life. And I really had to spend a lot of time in his brain and in his mind to make that realistic.
Yeah, your novel talks or delve into the complexities of family dynamics, one being not so functional. How did you approach these sensitive topics and and was careful not to go over or cross a line of judgment?
Mm. Um,
Mhm.
that's a good question. I feel like I did cross lines. I've actually had a couple of readers say um, that it was very hard. It was, it's a heart wrenching book. It's funny, but it's heart wrenching. And um,
Mhm.
I think that that's real. Life is heart wrenching in a lot of ways. And it's also funny, and it's also wonderful and joyful, but that is always tempered. There's always the yin and the yang. And it's always
Yeah.
tempered by the fact that their tragedy looms. It's there, and trauma for all of us is something we have to overcome. And some people go through unbearable things. These kids went through some really hard things.
Yeah.
Starting with, which you find out in the prologue, the death of their mother, and not having that force in their lives. They're already starting off with a disadvantage.
Disadvantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're already trying to overcome from day one, really.
Who were you a big reader when you were growing up? Or
I
an
want to be
avid
really,
reader?
yeah, I want to be honest about this because I know there are writers who have, I mean, always have their nose in a book. And I do now always have my nose in a book. But when I was younger, I read a book when I was 11, and I wasn't a reader before then. I read comic books, and I read the books I had to read for school, and I read picture books, but I didn't have a love for books more than anything else. TV, I had a
Mm,
love for TV and, Little Debbie cakes and riding my bike and kid stuff. When I was 11, I read a book called Where the Red Fern Grows, and it is a
mhm,
real tearjerker of a book, about a boy who gets two dogs. He saves up his money and gets two dogs, and they're his best friends. And that book is the first book that ever made me cry. And after that
mm.
book, I understood that there was actual magic that was different than TV and movies in reading, because you're making the story, the pictures in your own mind, and it's a totally different experience. It's much more connected to you because you have to paint the picture from the words. So
Where'd you
now
get
I'm an
your
avid reader.
So where did you get your lyrical style?
I honestly think I write the way that I speak. I do.
Ah,
Now, when you look at someone's writing, it's really important to give a shout out to the editors, because editors to me are as important as
They
writers,
are, oh my goodness, they're the magicians.
right?
Oh,
People who don't
yes.
have editors, you can tell, or people who've gotten so famous that they can tell their editors what to do, you can also tell, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think editors are magical,
Mhm.
and it's a real partnership. And so definitely rewrote sentences until they were beautiful to me. But
Yeah.
if you read my book, it reads the way someone speaks. I think it's
Yeah.
not high style, and it's kind of conversational. And I found the voices for my characters, to answer your question from before, by spending so much time with them, that they just had voice. They had, I knew what they would say. Yeah.
Now, who would you say are your literary influences?
So many. Um,
Yes.
s- I think I have influences, and then I have crushes,
Ah,
and obsessions, and, people who I wish I was as talented as they were.
uh-huh,
But one of the biggest influences for this book was JD Salinger. And
uh-huh.
something that does happen in the book, has happened in my life, which is that my Aunt Barbara gave me all of her um, old JD Salinger paperbacks for some birthday of mine. And I was like, oh, great, a stack of old books. But then I read specifically Franny and Zoe and all of his stories about the Glass family. And I was so amazed. It made me feel less alone. I was like, oh, someone thinks and sees people and people's brains the way I see them. And I was a teenager, and I just became obsessed with JD Salinger. Very upset when I found out that he wouldn't let anybody make any movies of any of his books, but also respect. Um, and just the mystery of him. And I think how he never really grew past his childhood trauma, it seems, in his writing. And so I was very
Mm.
fascinated by that, and by the relationship between the brother and sister. So I was like, I have a brother, and we went through some stuff, and I would like to write about that relationship. And that's kind of what inspired the book. Other literary crushes are, they're endless. People who I think are they're so incredible. Their talent is like immeasurable, like Hunat Diaz and Zadie Smith and Otessa Moshfegh and Karen Russell and old school Kurt Vonnegut and Robert Heinlein. Weirdly out of my wheelhouse, but I just love how outside of the box. I really love when someone comes from outside of the box. I totally appreciate genre writing. It's entertaining and it's fun, but it doesn't stay with me the way something like The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Hunat Diaz will stay with me forever, because that person is so real to me. I will remember his journey forever.
Do you think your past life is heavily influence of this book, The Naked Girl?
I don't know what you mean by the question. I'm sorry.
So I'm saying that how you were raised, do you
Mm-hmm.
think
Oh,
that, yeah, that it has heavily influenced, not only your lyrical style, but how you presented these characters?
yes, very much. It influences it very much. I
And I
got
said
to
that because you were mentioning, I didn't write down his name, but the first author that you mentioned, JD
JD Salinger. Yeah.
Salinger. So
Yeah.
because you said that JD Salinger, he kind of, you can tell in his book that he's not gotten over his traumas, and
Yes.
and it just got me to thinking that a lot of authors have not had mastery over their past, and so they hang on to it by continually writing about it. But it's also interesting that you have your past impacting your work, because it
Right.
is who you are. It is a thread of this canvas of who you are, so it's
Yep.
part of the
Completely.
DNA.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that phrase, write what you know, right? And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if, right? It doesn't matter if you're writing a Western, or if you're writing in the 1800s, or if you're writing something that takes place at 500 years in the future. You're still you, and you're coming through your characters. So I feel that there is a little bit of me and my childhood in every character in the book. There is a little bit of some aspect of me and the way that I see the world coming through every single character. So even though I relate
Wow.
mostly to Sienna and,
Yeah.
working out her story helped me work out my emotional story from my childhood, there's
Yeah.
also I'm seeing through the eyes of every character. They're all working to fix me a little bit.
Isn't that powerful? Because your growth, your impact, your stretch, it is all in your hands.
It's a lot of power. It's a lot.
It's
And if you don't give it the respect that it deserves, if you don't really try to write what that character would say, it's not going to ring true. It's going to feel, when people call characters wooden, or I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter in kind of a racing thriller where the plot is the thing, um,
yeah.
that you're trying to figure out a mystery and you don't really care if everybody has a good emotional experience in the end. That's not what you're reading that book for. But when you're reading literary fiction, it's all about that little change, that little shift in paradigm that makes you see the world differently at the end. And if you don't have that, it's
Yeah.
very unsatisfying. Yeah.
You've done so much with this, with your literary work, and I realize I've learned that you got numerous accolades, including the Bragg Medallion and the Silver SIPA EVVY. I don't know how to
Yeah.
pronounce that award,
Stipa
but
Evie, I think. Yeah.
SIPA heavy. So, how
Yeah.
does it feel when you receive recognition and you know how hard you work, and then you get this recognition? How does that feel?
Well, first, it feels amazing, right? Like so validating and incredible, but also more than that, really surprising because you know that almost a million books come out every year. Almost a million new
Mhm.
books come out every year. And that was a shocking statistic for me to learn. And so, I mean, you can write a really great book and and it can be amazing and just people can love it and they'll never find out about it. It's pretty hard to be one of those, how many musicians do you know that are just as talented as people who have platinum records?
I've
It's
made it.
right.
Yeah.
It's so we always
Yeah.
forget, or I think people forget because it's such a sort of hidden one, that writing is an art and that we're artists, as writers. So
Yeah.
like painters, like singers, like actors, we're working out our emotional experience through our art. We're expressing ourselves and we're trying to be seen. And it's really tough to get your work noticed. So to get noticed by these places that gave me awards and by readers who gave me beautiful reviews, because they're equally wonderful to me. Anyone who spent 350 pages listening to my crap, excuse my language, I mean, I love you. Thank you. I'm so grateful and blessed to have you have spent that time, even if it wasn't for you. So to have them do it with a stack of other competitors and then pick mine and say yours wins is incredible, like really incredible.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that they have these platforms for authors to share our work, because it is work, and it's daunting sometimes. And when you finally get something accomplished and you get that results and you have your book, you really are not thinking about celebrating and thinking about an award, but it just feels so good to hear somebody say, "Oh, and the winner is," and
Yeah.
it's recognition for this toiling that you've been doing. So I have created a platform where I can honor authors, because I see the hard work that they're doing. I see
I
the
love
hard
what
work
you've
that
done.
they're
Yeah.
doing to get the book out of you, and then you have to promote the book, and then you have to create a business from the book. Like, you really deserve recognition, and so that's why I've created
It's
this
fantastic.
conference for authors. But it does feel good to hear people recognize you. So anyway, what does your typical, I know you said you like to write during the mornings, the weekdays, 7 to 9, but what does that time frame of writing looks like for you? How do you pro- what's the framework for you during that time?
It is ever changing, but always habitual. So I had little children. They woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning for years, or 5 o'clock in the morning, and they didn't have to be at school till 9. So I had these 3 little kids running all around the house, and I have 5 total, but at the time I had 3 running around the house. And so it was, getting them ready for school. And so I had to kind of wake up ahead of them. So I would wake up at 5 and I would write from 5 to 7, and then it would be kid stuff trying to get them to school. And then if I had it in me, if I was able to with work, if I could get back to it later that day, I would. If I could go to a writing conference or find a weekend away, I would do that. Now I've since gotten divorced and remarried. I've been remarried for 5 years to my husband, who I've been with for 9 years now. So it's been a decade since that practice. And my youngest child is 16 and a half. Though I just got a puppy, and I'm starting all over again with the mornings and trying to find
new
time.
Mommy.
Oh man, it's not the same thing because I can put him in a cage and drive away in my car, which if you did that with a kid, they'd come after you. But it is all hands on deck and total vigilance, which is really tiring. And so carving out a specific time, writers are always trying to figure out how to write. And the ones that are workhorses, we're all jealous of them. The ones that just sit down at the chair, and if the muse comes, she comes. And if she doesn't, they're still going to sit there and write garbage because they sit in the chair. And I do think that is the way to do it. And I have to get back to that practice because right now I'm doing it here and there when I have the time. And it's not my second book, to get it taking off so that it takes less than 12 years. This time, it's not, I really have to get that sort of militant hours to sit at. And once I sit down, what it looks like is a lot of throat clearing. So you're checking an email, you're messing around, you're closing windows, you're not on task. And then you look at that blank screen or where you left off, and is your head there? Are you ready to continue from there? Is your head in a different scene? Where's the passion? Because for me, I'm kind of a pantser with writing. I want to write something that is really in my head and I'm passionate about. So I don't wind up with a nice, proper first draft. I wind up with a giant overgrown mess that's like a cloud, and then I have to spend a long time refining that cloud into a draft
and trimming it down and sculpting
it's not the best way.
Yeah, but
I don't recommend it.
It's your unique way of creating, and it works.
Yep.
Or you'll see if it works when this book is finished, because it's totally different from how you wrote the last time.
Right.
So,
and I'm different,
yeah.
We are always changing.
Yeah.
So I believe maybe I could be one of those people that starts at the beginning and ends at the end someday. That would be like you see in the movies where they type that last sentence and then pull the paper out triumphant.
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they take the draft right to a publisher. That would be great.
Oh my goodness.
Alas.
You know that doesn't exist.
Nope. No, I don't think it ever did.
It's all fiction.
But it does make you say, oh my God, Shakespeare, whatever, Wharton, like you people are amazing. You sat and wrote this with a pen, like a pen that you dipped in ink on pages.
Wow.
Right? Like that you
wrote.
Oh
my goodness. Thank you for putting that into perspective, because
isn't that incredible?
Not only was it, not only did they not have thesaurus, they had to sit there and write every single
and no spell
letter.
Check.
Okay.
No Grammarly, right?
No spell
Nothing
check.
to organize.
No Grammarly. Oh, I love Grammarly.
Just papers with ink.
Yeah, give us a tip that you use, because so many people are afraid of artificial intelligence to help them. And I'm telling you, Grammarly is one of the best things that has happened to me. I have it on all my devices. And if I'm even just responding to a text, it's there to correct me, to spell check, to even sentence structure. So what's one of the artificial intelligence that you can share that we can use that will help us or the audience with writing?
Okay, so the truth is, and this doesn't count spell check and Grammarly, I've never really used AI with writing. I think I'm just too old, like it's too new. And I haven't, and I've just now started, after many years, writing a second book. I did write half of it a long time ago and then went through a divorce and just put it down for a long time to focus on my family. So I'm picking it back up. But I will say, I'll give kind of a reverse tip. After you use Grammarly or something to correct your grammar, correct your spelling, correct your sentence structure, before you ever think you're done, you need to read your work out loud. Because if it sounds wrong when you read it out of your voice, then it probably is. And AI makes mistakes because they, just there will be a glitch once in a while where you use a word that can mean two things. They think it means something else, and they give you a suggestion that makes incorrect grammar. I know it's getting better and better now, but if you read it and it sounds bad, it probably is, and you need to rewrite it yourself. That would be my tip.
And that's a great tip. It's really a great tip. And you said something in there that, you've had your work sit in for a while. A lot of people don't realize how life impacts our creativity, especially as women, because you put family first, which we, of course, you're a
Right.
nurturer, your mom, you have a family looking to you. And so a lot of times people don't realize that there are plenty of talented people walking around in your space in the supermarket
Yeah.
and just in the diaper aisle, you know and that's a creative person right there who you never know. So shout out to the mothers who have
It's
their
true.
work, their art, their manuscript tucked away, just waiting for that free moment to get at it.
It's really true. I'm very blessed to have a really tight group of close friends.
Hmm.
My closest girlfriends, I've dragged them through my life with me and made them all know each other and be friends with each other. And most of them don't live where I live.
Uh-huh.
And all of them are artists, all of them. Um, one of them is a beautiful painter. One of them is an amazing musician. One of them is an event designer and floral creator. One of them is another event designer and painter. And like, they're all creatives. And we all share this issue where as a mom, you just get knocked off your block
Yeah.
because to be in your world, whether you're painting or writing or making music, you need to not have to focus on time, right? Your right brain and your left brain, and being in your left brain, the creative side of your brain, means there's no time in there. Time is a right brain
Yeah.
concept. You need to set an
Yeah.
alarm to wake you out of a stupor if you really want to get into that spell, the zone of creativity. And I love being in that place, but if I'm in that place, I will forget to pick my son up from school in that
Yes.
place.
Oh my God. Yes.
It's
Yes.
right. It's so hard to be in that place for exactly an hour and 45 minutes,
Yeah,
you
you
know?
just want to keep going. And as a matter of fact, you're not even aware of time. Like you said, you're in the zone. You're
Yep.
so in the zone that, I'm so grateful that somebody else understands me, because a lot of times I'm in my office and I'm working on something, like I'm working on Quantum Weekend right now, and I am here, and then I look up and I'm like, God, it's 8 o'clock, but I don't have any children, young children to
Yeah.
pick up or anything, but I had promised someone that I will, call them or return a call. And
I do that too. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So
And for me,
it's
that
don't
happens
blame
and it's
me.
8 o'clock
Blame
and
my
I'm like, oops,
creativity.
dinner. And luckily somehow my husband and kids have figured out to jump up and make their own dinner because there's a couple times where I'm
You
like,
were in the zone.
I don't know what happened, but I guess
Yeah.
they're okay down there. Nobody bothered me. Yeah. That's the
Oh,
lucky part about
Janna,
when they're older.
yes, they can help
Yeah.
themselves and help you.
Yeah.
Thank
Get a
you
little
so
back.
much for joining me and for coming up here and sharing your world with our audience. I wish we could stay longer, but we'd still have about 10 minutes left. So let's get into there's some questions that I love to ask each of my guests. So of course I'm not going to spare you.
Perfect. I'm
What's
ready.
what's one bold promise that you can share with the audience?
Okay, one bold promise I can share with the audience is that I am not going to take 12 years to write my second book.
That's right.
That, believe me when I tell you, that is a bold promise for me, because it is saying out loud in public on a recording that I don't have control over that I'm actually going to finish and write this. and make it happen when my life, is constantly working to shut that down. So it literally makes me have some butterflies in my stomach to nervously say to you, I plan to finish this book and have it not be some like lazing thing that kind of floats along in my life and maybe gets done or not. It's going to happen, and it's not going to take a decade.
I'm your accountability girl.
And I'm using you for that right now. Thank you.
What's a bold statement that you can share with the audience that will cause a paradigm shift?
A bold statement that I can share with the audience that will cause a paradigm shift. Just repeat the question. What is a bold statement? I think forgiveness, and it's not a statement, it's just one word. I learned in my life that to carry around your resentments with you all the time, regardless if they are deserved, regardless if they are worked out or not, is you having on a backpack filled with the rocks of your anger, and you are in fact the one who is carrying the weight. And by forgiving people, whether they deserve it or not, you are taking rocks out of the backpack and handing it to them. This thing that I'm mad about, it's yours now. I forgive you. You carry it. And when you get addicted to that and you change that paradigm of, I deserve this anger, and instead you say, you have it. This is what you did. I forgive you. Your backpack becomes empty and life becomes lighter and happier and easier. And I haven't been able to do that completely in my life, but I have done it quite a bit. I'm addicted to it, and it has been life-changing for me.
And it's a beautiful way for us to see how you can just unload the burden. I love that analogy.
Yeah.
What's a bold? Yeah, just leave it there, dump it out.
Yeah.
I like that. Don't carry it around with you. Janna, what's a bold move that you'd like to make in the future?
A bold move that I would like to make in the future. I would like to start some sort of charitable organization. That's something I would like to do. And I don't do it at this point. I do participate in many. I would like to spearhead something specific with my family. That is a dream that I have, and something that I'd really like to do, especially now when we really need in the world as it is right now, as many people as we can who are willing to give of themselves just in service of others, less selfish, more selfless, more focused on sharing and sharing your experience, sharing your resources, and sharing your kindness and empathy with people in need. I don't understand why people find it so easy to hate. I think it's so much easier to love and understand other people and let them be. And so something focused on that kind of sharing of love.
Do you have anything in mind?
No. But I think that when I'm ready, it will be easy. Something with mentoring, maybe artist mentoring, something with time spent. Yeah, sharing time. Because I think children, and this is kind of circles back to the book, children, many children are having difficult time growing up. Children who are haves, children who are have-nots, children who have loving families or who don't. Childhood is anxiety producing and scary when it should be joyful and beautiful. And it is those things too. But I think for a lot of people, it just takes one person on the right day at the right time to come up to you and say the right thing when you're ready to hear it. It's so trite, but that you can do this. You don't listen to the world telling you can't. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter where you come from. You can. You just have to. It doesn't even have to be natural talent. You just have to be willing to put in the time and the work and ask the questions and find out the answers. And you will be able to do this in some way. And if someone can look in your eyes, a teacher, a person, a mentor, and be able to say that, you can change someone's life. My oldest child is adopted. He was my foster son. Be the light for someone. Yeah, you can change. If you change that one person, then you're changing all the generations below that person. You're
Yes,
helping
yes.
it's a pyramid. You're helping so many people if you just help one.
You have such a bright spirit and a beautiful aura. How can
Thank you.
the listeners follow you and just learn more about you and be more engaged in your world?
I would love that. I have a website, I have an Instagram, and I have, if you Google my name, Janna Brooke Wallack, everything will come up. The book is available all over the place. It's an Amazon bestseller and in 3 categories, and it's won some awards. And all of that will come up if you Google my name. But my website is jannabrookewallack.com. And my Instagram is at Janna Cowan, which is my married name, Kowan. I love new
Mhm.
followers and I love DMs with questions and involvements. I don't ignore them. I answer them myself. I don't know enough about social media to have someone else do it for me. And I love when people come find me with questions. I absolutely love working with book clubs. I've participated and zoomed into a couple of book clubs who have read my book, and that was a really great experience. I'm very accessible. I really enjoy sharing about the book and about writing. So please do look me up and DM and send an email, anything. You can find me.
Thank
Everything's all
you.
over the web. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, thank
Yeah,
you for sharing your insights and your experiences and just being such a light into our world. You just was an absolute pleasure to have. And
mine
I'm
as well.
looking forward to hearing more about your next project.
And I'm looking forward to hopefully attending your book event, which sounds fantastic. And everybody should look that up too. What's it called?
Yeah, it's called Quantum Weekend.
Quantum
It's
Weekend.
a yeah, it's a authors Quantum Weekend book conference.
I'm really looking forward to it. I hope that so maybe you guys can find me there too. I think I'll be there.
You heard it here.
Yay.
Guys, I highly recommend Naked Girl. And if you are interested in learning more about Janna, you know where to find her. But please go ahead and purchase her book and visit her website. You can also find Naked Girl on Amazon, just like she said, and in your favorite bookstores. So please go ahead and get this book and get all of this Naked Girl ness in your life and be a part of this this journey. Thanks again, Janna, for your time and expertise. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode. It was just interesting and amazing, and it just feels like a bubbly light. So I appreciate you guys being a part of today. I enjoyed it so much. If you'd like to hear more about how to become an author, you can send me an email at author at gmail.com. No, it's authordnicholson at gmail.com. And my website is boldpublishings.com. Thank you guys for listening. And thank you so much, Janna, for being here.
Thank
You were
you.
amazing.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.